presentation is about a 1.5 year development containing a lot of interesting things, but the most interesting thing is cracking Microsoft Office hidden algorithm to breaking the line in Word and implementing this hidden algorithm in Writer to get exactly the same layout. So it's very important if you remember the Red Hat announcement related to the metric font equivalence in 10 or more years ago. So it's something similar because the Microsoft Office 2013 showed that it's absolutely new algorithm with space shrinking the spaces between the words. But first of all, I try to show the title of my presentation, and in the small illustration, this is the Gutenberg Bible from the 15th century. And you can see that it's not so readable, my presentation about hyphenation control, achieving optimal readability in your documents, because it's very special, these fonts. It's a black letter fonts. It's very hard for nowadays, for modern people, to read these letters. But if you check the, I'm sorry, yes, this one. This word, this is Libris, so you can read it. So readability is related something your study. So you must learn to read, but there are some other parts of the readability. For example, you need a uniform grayness in the text because it's very helpful. Instead of big holes or white places between the words or lines, it's very helpful to create some uniform grayness, like in the Gutenberg Bible. So it was one of the most the biggest scandal of the human history or culture, because Gutenberg made mass production here, producing near 200 Bibles and selling as a handwritten Bible for much more money, for hundreds more money. So it was very clever. That is why it's still a secret what was the exact method of Gutenberg to produce this uniform grayness. So moving types, moving letters from lead, maybe it's one of the part of the story, but there are different theories still nowadays. So it's very interesting, this part. But my presentation about the hyphenation, you can see it is small double lines. This is the hyphenation in the Gutenberg Bible. And I must apologize on Richard's behalf, because his present in the hyphenating in his presentation was not hyphenation, because breaking the word inside the word is one of part of the hyphenation, but you need to break the word in a readable way. And breaking the word after a single letter, or reading a word inside a syllable, or near to the boundary of a compound word, for example, in the German language or Hungarian or Finnish, Swedish, Norwegian languages, it's a crime. So a typographical error, it's not hyphenation. So sorry for this example. And this is my agenda, and maybe I will try to focus on some of the parts of my presentation. So I mentioned that containing a lot of interesting things, this development, for example, supporting ODF standard, because LibreOffice reference implementation of the Open Document standard, and still we had ODF 1.0 standards missing in the Writer word processor. For example, it was not possible to limit hyphenation on a character level or word level. So this is the first, perhaps the first implementation of the ODF standard in Writer. So it's possible to remove the hyphenation of a word instead of using this none or something other character language. That was the workaround before that. But you can see that this workaround broke the layout of the text. For example, there was a, yes, you can see this special O letters with diaresis, And this is a special font feature. It's showing only in the German text, this special German variant of the arrow. And with the workaround, here is the example. So you can remove the hyphenation of this word, but you can immediately with that, you remove the correct layout of the text. So that was a real problem. It's not only the spell checking missing for a text with non-text language, character language. So the other part was development was innovating a new user interface feedback related to the words with disabled hyphenation. It's a gray dotted underline here. And it's very easy to switch on the hyphenation with the context menu. Other ODF compliance problem was the disabling the hyphenation of the last line of the page. You can see here, there was a hyphenated line in the end of the first page, but thanks to this new setting, it is possible to disable the hyphenation of the last lines, and not only the pages, but the columns too. And there is an English term for the visible word page parse. It is sprayed. So it is possible only to disable on the right page in a normal book. So it's, that is why it's interesting, this feature, because this was exactly the method of Gutenberg to produce the Gutenberg Bible. So there was no hyphenation. It is the Gutenberg Bible. It was a 2-column page, and not only the end of the pages, but end of the columns didn't contain any hyphenation. So it's a very long tradition, but not only a half a 1,000-year tradition, but it's much more. So in fact, the writing is 10,000 years old in using clay tickets for counting the agricultural products, for example. But the Christianity, the name of the Bible, the books, it's related to the invention of the books. That book was a very small object. It was very, especially when Christianity was a hidden or very dangerous thing for the Christians. It was the best practical format to transfer the sanctuary texts that time. So there is a book I mentioned 2 years ago. It is Papyrus. This is the name of from a Spanish author. It's very interesting book about the history of the printing and books. And the other interesting things here that, in fact, this is the official English orthography rule by the Oxford University Press to disable the hyphenation in the last line of the spreads. So now writer supports this. And other interesting thing, the interoperability. For example, there is I mentioned that sometimes it's typographical errors are crimes. And other crime here is the consecutive hyphenated lines. Mostly in German and English, the maximum is 3 lines is the limit. In the Hungarian language is 4, so it's a little bit different related to the very special orthography. And you can see that sometimes following the rules, especially in a word processor, can generate bigger problems. Here it's the very huge holes between the words. So we need something better solution than a line level hyphenation. Docx interoperability, other things, there was a default now in LibreOffice Word, Microsoft Word is a default setting to use the Gutenberg method, disabling the hyphenation in the last line of the column and the pages. So the interesting and the funny things, when I last year implemented this feature, I implemented the Microsoft Office 2013 method moving the last line. But after that, Microsoft changed the algorithm, moving the last word, not the full line. In fact, there are some very special Microsoft Office versions where when moving the line, it did that time, it was not limited. So if you, for example, you were a German user or Norwegian, there was a bug report related to that. All of my pages, all my lines move to the next page. So it's very bad line-breaking algorithm to kill the page, but it seems there are examples for that. And this, I mentioned this very special algorithm without hyphenation. Only in a justified text, there were differences related to the writer and word. You can see it is the byproduct of the development. It is fancy comparison of the documents. You can see that there is a difference between the word and the writer typesetting, and here you can see only the different word spaces, and you can see the different line breaking here. This is the said word was in the previous line in the Microsoft Word, because Microsoft Word was able to compress the spaces. So that was my last year implementation, adding this word spacing. And the problem for me was not only to crack the algorithm, the other problem is cracking the LibreOffice core, writer core, because it's a huge area of LibreOffice code base. So that is why I made a huge mistake. But thanks to the bug reporters and feedbacks, especially Justin Lott from Collabora, yesterday I made some breakthrough. So I hope I can tell you something. Yes. Other interesting interoperability issue working in different ways, but for example, Michael Stahl worked with this, you can see these bold letters. It's a different style, paragraph style text in the same line. So it's very special and very useful if you want to create a legal text when the PDF navigation, PDF table of contents, or the standard table of content of the text contain these paragraphs, but only this inline heading part of the paragraphs. So it's a useful thing. And now it's possible to, you can check it in the writer, select only the first word or first few words of the text and press Ctrl F1 or select the heading 1 style, and you can get an inline heading, at least a frame in my solution. But it's, you can get the same or similar layout like in Word. Hyphenation of the compound word is a word supported by the Hungarian foundation fsf.hu, and it's very interesting not only for the Hungarian language, but I hope for the German and German-like languages too. So in titles, it's very bad solution to disable the hyphenation because of the long words, thanks the examples of Richard, because you can see a very long German word there, but it's very common, these long words in this type, these languages with the same orthography. So it's better to not disable completely the hyphenation, but hyphenating between the word parts, not between syllables, but word parts. There's a requirement and better option than fixing all of your tiles manually. So it's like Gutenberg got running titles, or the big colorful letters in the Gutenberg Bible were handmade, so not printed completely. ODF standardization, it's some of the new draft options here for the ODF standardization, but the very interesting part here that Microsoft Office, it's not applicable for the German-like languages. Why? Because Microsoft Office has got only a document level setting of hyphenation. So all of very special things, if you want to modify a hyphenation of a paragraph or a section or for the headings, it's not possible in Microsoft Office. It's not possible in the OXML standard, because you can switch on the hyphenation and setting the hyphenation options only for the whole document, and you can disable the hyphenation only for single paragraphs. So it's a different and very sad limitation for the Microsoft users. DTP capabilities. This is the continuation of my development, which originally was typography, but typography is, there is a misunderstanding. Typography is not about the fancy fonts. Gutenberg used only one single font. It's a very special font, only for this black letter font for the Bible. The typography is about the readable text. There's uniform grayness, line breaking, and now there is a new option used only not Adobe InDesign. That is something, but not completely. But for example, the Affinity publisher has this similar feature, these end zones. Instead of the black and white solution, disabling the hyphenation of the last line, you can choose add a different limit for that line. So if you have a very long line, you can still handle this line. For example, in German, in Hungarian, or German-like languages, it's a must-have to this end zone support. Other DTP capabilities is custom word spacing. You can set a minimum and a maximum spaces desired. This setting is default in Adobe InDesign. For example, it is 80%, and for maximum it is 133%. Now, in the development version of LibreOffice, uses these settings to disable the hyphenation. If it's possible to break the line between this minimum and maximum spacing in the justified text, the hyphenation is disabling in that line. And what is the result of this? That it's much better text. Sometimes hyphenation was also a crime. For example, 100 years ago, it was typography is an art, and some with fashions changing. For example, hyphenation was so painful for that time for the typographers, producing books with huge spaces without hyphenation. That was the top of the typography. But the result was not so readable, and that is why now it's very important hyphenation again. And you can see that thanks to this optimization, you can get averagely 20 or depending on the language. For example, you can see the percent here, less hyphenations. I can show you the next. Yes. So there is a huge fluctuation related to the length of the lines. This is the normal range from, you can see it here, is 80 letters is the maximum letters for a line. It's a very narrow line with 38 letters, and there is a huge fluctuation. So it's like a basic research using LibreOffice Writer. So I tested on the same text, or the Declaration of the Human Rights, at 10 or 12,000 letters, and with different line lengths. Then you can see that the ratio of the hyphenated lines show it's very huge fluctuation. But you can see here a small narrow lines, you need more hyphenation or bigger ranges related to the word spacing. So in fact, there is instead of 18, you can use 60% shrinking, for example, in the narrow lines. And yes. And the result of this work related to the word spacing was that I was able to refine the algorithm, the hidden algorithm of the Microsoft Office. So the algorithm is, there is a maximum word spacing here. So with a weighting. So it's a problem is that it's, you need to test a lot of test files. Unfortunately, this is not the best example. but I made 100 tests for analyzing the algorithm. And I've got from Justin Lut a couple of a dozen documents with a lot of examples. And yesterday I was able to run a test with all successful test cases. So it seems the algorithm is good to create a default line-breaking algorithm in the writer for the maximum interoperability. That is the next plan. Thank you. The support from the NLNet Foundation for supporting this project and using the EU money for this program. And thank you for the FSF.HU Foundation for the Hungarian-related developments and for community help I've got. And the next step is using or following the Gutenberg. Instead, the Adobe InDesign program uses the Knut plus algorithm, a paragraph level line breaking algorithm with a very special thing, for example, shrinking not only the word spaces, but shrinking the letters too. And shrinking the space between the letters. So it is the next step. The result would be very interesting because of the word processing is related to the productivity. We can get a software with a maximum productivity with a high level or maximum typography, uniform grayness, maximum readability. And I hope at the end of the year I can show more interesting examples, especially that the LibreOffice conference will be in Budapest, will be here. So I hope that especially using the variable fonts, we can create something for the future. Thank you very much.